Hey everyone, welcome to Penguin Storytime. I started a small poll in the community tab of the channel to see what your favorite subreddits are. If you would like to take part, you can also click on the info card or comment down below. I want to mix up the content on the channel to make it more diverse, but I will still create malicious compliance content whenever some great stories show up. And now, let's start with the first story, shall we?
The first story is called Bad Equipment, Bad Luck. I work for a bank. Part of my job is largely opening new accounts. We have little mini scanners on our desks. And when we open an account, ideally, we would open our program, feed the ID into the scanner, and it would automatically take the information from the ID and input it into the computer. Now, unfortunately, our company won't pay for the nice scanners. The scanners we have are garbage and don't properly scan things. So usually, we manually enter the information and use the printer to copy the ID. We've been doing this for over a year now. Cut to the first quarter of 2020. Corporate sends out a harshly worded email that from here on out, they will not accept our printer copies of the ID. We must use desk scanners. I call a tech, they do some stuff with my scanner and tell me it's working. A few hours later, I start opening accounts and the scanner still isn't working. I'm not one to turn customers away, so I do it the manual way. I again call the tech department after I'm done and they tell me it's a flaw of the scanners, that the other more expensive model is almost perfect, but corporate won't shell out for them. That sucks, but the tech tries to fix it and I get off the line. This happens for the next 5 accounts I have that day, and for the next week. I call the tech, there's a ton of tickets, the issue persists but I won't turn away customers and keep doing it manually. I get an email from corporate 3 days ago saying that I immediately need to start using the desk scanner and stop entering information manually. I'm being audited, my accounts are being examined, and if I keep being insubordinate I might get written up. I call the department and say, our scanners don't work. I can't use it. They basically tell me that I still have to use it. So I stop opening accounts manually. For the last few days, if someone comes in to open an account, I try to scan their ID, and if the scanner doesn't work, I basically tell them, sorry, they won't let me open it manually. And afterward, I give them the corporate complaint line. I turn away countless people, they're irritated, it's a mess. Guess who got the notification today that we're getting the better scanners on Monday? The next story is called, They Wanted It to Happen. I was working at a company for 5 years under a visa. The company had very quickly figured out it was easy to use people on visas and proceeded to do just that. My colleague and I were underpaid and overworked. He finally left. I stupidly believed they'd extend my papers. They initially agreed to do just that. A supervisor position opened up. I refused to cover the position without the title. I had essentially been doing the job for the past several years and I wasn't going to keep doing it without the acknowledgement. Basically, for 2 weeks, we had no one supervising us. I refused to do what I had been doing the whole time. It was an empowering moment because I finally snapped and said I was done. The department fell into chaos. There was no one of authority between us and the CEO and he was getting many calls. Finally, he sent down the human resource administrative assistant to let me know I could apply for the position. It was petty as he had personally called every other person he wanted to take the position. Both previous supervisors who held that position had recommended me. But okay, I went ahead and submitted a resume and did an interview. They gave me the position but withdrew the offer to renew my papers which expired in a year. They told me I would have to leave in a year. 11 months later, the department is running smoothly. But I haven't heard anything about interviews or my replacement. They'd forgotten I was leaving. That's not possible, you say. After all that drama, they couldn't possibly forget. Turns out they very much did. When I reminded them my visa was set to expire, I was met with anger and denial. Because it was my fault somehow? It got to the point that the CEO refused to speak with me or look at me. And human resources was begging me to stay and trying to come up with ways I could stay. There was so much denial that no replacement was interviewed or ever trained. I had been working there for so long that I had simply absorbed multiple positions, leaving me as the only one who knew certain things. During my last week, I sat down with both human resources and the CEO to outline everything I did. They were wounded till the end and never announced that I had left or who was taking over my position as was customary. I knew because I had several friends that still worked there. Where is the malicious compliance, you may ask? The papers were expired and you had to leave. See, by this point, my situation had changed. I didn't inform them of this change. I could have continued to work there. But they wanted me to leave, so I was going to leave. As of today, it has been 2 years and they have been through 4 people in my position. The current supervisor had an easily preventable critical incident occur during his watch within his first few months, so we'll see how long he lasts. They have had to hire additional staff because the people who replaced me are very busy and unable to manage everything I did. They've also had a 100% turnover in the department through resignations. During my tenure, I had 1 resignation. The last story is called, You Don't Want Me? I work as a wardsman in a hospital in Australia. I'm part of the radiology department, so I take people to and from their scans or tests. There are other wardsmen in the hospital that have other responsibilities. Sometimes they help us out when we are particularly busy. There is a bit of contention with this, as the other wardsmen take forever to help us out, usually 1 or 2 hours. By which time, we've already done the work we've asked for help with or we've all finished our shifts for the day. They have to do it anyway in the second case because they have night staff rostered and we don't. This frustrates me as the patients are waiting around in our very cold department rather than being back in their room with visitors or meals. It also puts extra strain on our radiographers as they are waiting as well. I understand that they have their own responsibilities, so I don't expect them to prioritize it over their own work. We, however, have the ability to see all the jobs on their list through the software we use for our own jobs. We can see when they are busy and when they aren't, and they are usually overstaffed for the amount of work required of them on weekends. I was working one Sunday evening and I was the last wardsman left in my department because it's usually quiet at this time. I brought a patient down for a scan and we were chatting about the usual things. She seemed like a really nice old lady. Some people can get quite grumpy after spending a while in hospital, but she had a happy demeanor. Halfway through the trip, she said, "It's a shame you have to work on the Sabbath." I responded, "It's okay. I'm not religious." She went silent. I went silent. An awkward 5 minutes passed until we arrived. After her scan, which only took about 2 minutes, I told her I would take her back up to her room. She looked displeased. "I'd rather have another porter." "I'm sorry, I'm the only one left in the department." "Well, get someone from another department." "That could take a long time. They have other responsibilities." "I don't care. I need a different porter." So, I put the job on the other wardsman's work orders and went about the rest of my work. 30 minutes passed, then 1 hour and she was still there. So I checked the job list and there were only 2 on there, one of them being this lady, and they still had 3 wardsmen on staff. After almost 2 hours, my shift was ending and she was still here. And to her credit, did not complain once. I checked with our nurse if he wanted me to take her back before I left. He knew the whole story and he said, "This is what the patient wants," and told me to go home. I found out the next day that the patient had been waiting for almost 3 hours in radiology for something that took 2 minutes. Apparently, the nursing unit manager of the ward she was on called down asking where the patient was. Our nurse explained that the patient took issue with our wardsman and they had been waiting for the other wardsman. She called the other wardsman and yelled at them for a couple of minutes and they did it immediately.
Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe and comment down below. Have a great day. Bye bye.